In this video, I'm gonna cover some of the shocking stories you probably didn't know happened over the years at Ozzfest. Like that time the singer Snot climbed up in Limp Bizkit's giant toilet stage prop with a porn star and received a job, then ran away from the police naked and hid in Ozzy's dressing room. Or that time Jack got his first tattoo in the back of a Hatebreed tour bus.
I had it done in white ink and it said Mum. And I bought an ounce of weed and got a tattoo in the same sitting.
It must have been good weed. And don't think Sharon didn't have her fun either, because there was that time her and Jack did shots with Dimebag and Vinny from Pantera, and I'm gonna talk about this story and so much more in this video.
One time I was in Pantera's dressing room. It was with Vinny and Dime. Dime had handed me a shot. I'm about to drink it, and she fucking walks into the dressing room, and I'm like,
again, the cat's mother.
My mother walks into the dressing room, and I'm like, ugh. And then they handed her one, and we were just like, all right, we just did a shot. And I was like, maybe 15.
My name's Jay Sky, and this video is all about the Ozzfest, the Osbournes, Battle of Ozzfest, and all of that shit. Ozzfest was the heaviest festival of the late 90s and early 2000s that influenced the rock and metal scene for generations to come. So iconic that Urban Outfitters is selling Ozzfest sweatshirts from 2005 in 2026. What the fuck? Leading up to the summer of 1996, Sharon had Ozzy's agent reach out to Lollapalooza, asking for a slot that summer. And they relayed the message that Ozzy was a joke and not a good fit for the festival. In typical Sharon Osbourne fashion, she created the first Ozzfest in spite of Lollapalooza. The first Ozzfest was not a national tour, but rather a 2-day festival held in Phoenix, Arizona, and Devore, California. This was in October 25th and 26th in 1996. Following the festival, they released a live compilation CD called Ozzfest Live. These compilation CDs and doc DVDs are a theme throughout the festival's history. I actually owned the 10th anniversary DVD when I was 15. That was also the first year I attended the festival. So let's get into all the fuckery of the real-life Addams family who worked together to change the face of heavy music and created a platform for some of the biggest rock and roll bands of all time to shine, while provoking mainstream TV to push past the network's comfort zone. So before we get into it, who misses Ozzfest? Because I sure do. Also let me know in the comments some rad Ozzfest tales, because there's so many and there's no way I could fit them all into this video. My mom took me to Ozzfest for the first time in 2005. I had just gotten into playing guitar the year before, and as a young mom who grew up in the late 70s and early 80s, the Ozzfest name was one she adored. Growing up, she would tell me about how Ozzy bit the head off the bat and introduced me to songs like Crazy Train. This is before the internet worked, and guitarists like Zakk Wylde and Johnny Five were frequently featured in Guitar World magazine. My time at Ozzfest was one of the last good memories I had with my mom, since I only lived with her another 2 years after that. What about you? Did you ever go to Ozzfest? Drop your stories in the comments or let me know if you've seen any of these bands live. But for those of you who haven't been to Ozzfest, walking onto the festival grounds in Florida felt like a mud pit. It had been raining on and off, and these moshers really embraced all things disgusting to prove how metal they were. I still remember seeing big jacked white dudes with full dragon back pieces like it was yesterday. The smell of pot and beer created a must that was the Ozzfest scent, but Ozzfest couldn't have been less corporate. When Ozzfest began, Jack and Kelly were only 11 and 12 years old. It became the greatest rock and roll summer camp a kid could dream of. As Jack entered his teen years, he took more of an A&R role, putting lists of bands together that he really liked and thought should be on the festival. I believe bands would submit demos, or they would also scout bands who were blowing up in Los Angeles or in their own local scenes. On the festival, the bands embraced the kids, and one time Phil from Pantera gave Jack anti-drinking advice while feeding him shots of Crown Royale and Wild Turkey.
Phil from Pantera.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
He used to give me don't do drugs and don't drink advice.
Yeah.
He'd be
but
like,
then simultaneously giving us Crown Royale and Wild Turkey, so it never really made sense.
But it wasn't all fun and games. One of the key components to the success of the festival was Sharon Osbourne, a sharp and ruthless businesswoman. Ozzy even said countless times that she did all the work. Now for the chaos. Like that time Danzig refused to go on stage unless they paid him $10,000 more. Sharon agreed verbally, and when they later came for the money, she told him to fuck off and said, "We have a contract," and kicked him off the tour. Also, according to Kelly, the members of the band are pigs. I don't really want to say what happened here in my own words, so hear it from Kelly.
Putting them on laminates and parading them around backstage.
On the Osbourne's Family podcast, everyone agrees that the third ever Ozzfest in 1998 was the most legendary. That summer had one of the greatest lineups, like Ozzy, Tool, Limp Bizkit, Incubus, Snot, System of a Down, Life of Agony, Soulfly, and so many more. Kelly even had members of Incubus record and play her first single. What a fucking dream. Ozzfest was not just a festival where you could see some of your favorite big bands play, but more importantly, it was an opportunity for newer bands to be discovered by thousands of targeted metal fans. And in 1999, there was a small local band from Iowa called Slipknot, and they did just that. By the middle of the summer, the band got so popular, Slipknot got bumped up to playing the main stage. And that meant that they were opening for Slayer and Ozzy. Let me know in the comments some of your favorite bands that played in Ozzfest and what year you attended the show. At the height of the festival and peak of alternative culture on MTV, the Osbournes had their own reality show called The Osbournes. This showcased the Prince of Darkness's wacky day-to-day, which entailed a lot of cursing, dog poop, and fighting between Kelly and Jack. Ozzy's oldest daughter, Amy, stayed far away from the limelight, and that's why I don't have much to say about her in the video. Although Ozzy does have a beautiful song dedicated to her. During the filming of the show, Amy moved out of the house prematurely. Ozzy felt badly about this, and I think that's what inspired him to make this sweet song dedicated to his daughter. It's a song I always loved off the 7th album, Osmosis. Between 1999 and 2002 is when Ozzfest and mainstream television fully merged. During this time, the festival helped break bands such as Disturbed, Linkin Park, Static X, and countless others. The notoriety and exposure that Ozzfest gave to bands inspired a new MTV show in 2004 called Battle of Ozzfest. This show was essentially the metal version of Making the Band, putting a handful of bands through challenges, and the winner would win a spot on Ozzfest to play the second stage. Spoiler alert, but the season 1 winner was A Dozen Furies. I still watch their live performance from the 2005 Ozzfest DVD, and that live performance and that guitar solo with the Blue Jackson is so iconic for Ozzfest history. The Ozzfest didn't create stars, it tested who could survive the Ozzfest. The second stage was brutal. Long hot days, early set times, and unforgiving audiences. Unlike big bands like Disturbed, Static X, Linkin Park, and Papa Roach, who came out of the festival with bigger audiences, that wasn't the story for every band. Like Crazy Town. Come my lady, come my lady. Like many of the second stage bands, the label would cover expenses and essentially pay the band to play. But since Crazy Town didn't look or sound the part, mainly due to their recent success on MTV with the song Butterfly, the audience ripped them apart. The band's success forced the labels to push them too quickly, and that was the band's downfall. Also drug addiction, but maybe that's for a different video. Rest in peace to their singer Shifty. What a legend. You pay, you play was a motto created by Sharon. For example, Marilyn Manson destroyed all of his dressing rooms, but she says he paid no problem. At least he didn't have to pay to perform. Got him. Speaking of Manson, protesters, parents, and Christian groups would constantly try and shut down the shows, saying that Manson and Ozzy were the devil's music. Also, after the tragic Columbine shooting in 1999, Marilyn Manson became the scapegoat that was blamed for the event. I've been listening to Marilyn Manson's music since I was a kid, and I could say with full confidence that I'm unaffected. Legit more of like dark pop than heavy metal or satanic music. Let's be real. In the late 70s and early 80s, when Ozzy was blowing up with Black Sabbath, there was another English band called Iron Maiden. And in 2005, they played the main stage of Ozzfest, opening for Ozzy. The band was paid $185K a show and treated well. Any tour requests they desired were met, but that didn't stop the frontman, Bruce Dickinson, from talking shit and being disrespectful, bad-mouthing Ozzy every night. So in the last night of the show, Sharon had 200 Hispanic kids load up on eggs and peanut butter and throw it at Iron Maiden on stage. Then Sharon went on stage, grabbed the mic, and told them to get the fuck off her stage. What a G, truly. But it wasn't all fun, success, and games. At least not in 2007. Ozzfest wasn't selling as many tickets as they used to. Nu metal was phasing out, and the cost of the tour was getting too big to make a profit. There were no must-see headliners anymore, and fans were having trouble justifying $40 and $60 summer tour tickets. A lot of the band's agents demanded too much money as they felt Ozzy and Sharon were making billions. Although they said they made a profit, it wasn't enough to retire off of. So Sharon saw the writing on the wall. CD sales were crashing, bands were depending on tour and merch to make money, festivals needed huge crowds to survive, the music industry as a whole was changing, so sponsorships like Monster covered so many of the costs. So that summer, the bands didn't get paid, but still made some profit off of merch sales. And that summer in 2007, the tickets were free. The free show was Sharon's PR pivot and the best attempt at making Ozzfest 11 happen. Although the crowds were there, what wasn't there anymore was the old way of making money. The irony of this is that the shows had 20 or 30,000 people in attendance, yet it was the least profitable tour. So in 2008, there was no Ozzfest and it didn't pick back up until 2010. But it was never a full run again. After that, it was just one-off shows. Other festivals like the Warped Tour were picking up with the popularity of pop-punk music and screamo. Metal festivals such as Download Fest and Mayhem were taking its place. Although with the exception of Warped Tour, these other metal festivals were also one-off shows. They didn't go to every single major city. By 2018, Sharon called it quits and ended Ozzfest for good. She says a lot of bands' management were too greedy, asking for more money than they could afford. All great things must come to an end, but the legacy of Ozzfest and Ozzy Osbourne will live on forever. He isn't just the Prince of Darkness, he's an amazing songwriter, an entertainer, and a cultural icon. After years of battling with health issues, Ozzy performed his final show with Black Sabbath, and only 2 weeks later, passed away. I'm currently in LA and the amount of love and gratitude around the city was outstanding. Murals and bouquets of flowers all around the city to represent their sheer love for Ozzy. And you could also feel this across the internet. Ozzy and Ozzfest may be gone, but its legacy will never be forgotten. My time at Ozzfest was one of my last good memories with my mom. Rest in peace to her as well, passed away in 2019. I went to Ozzfest in 2005 and 2006, seeing some of the dopest bands. At the time, everything from Dragon Force to Black Sabbath, Rob Zombie, Disturbed, System of a Down, Black Label Society, Shadows Fall, I believe Arch Enemy played, and really too many to rattle off right here. The bands I discovered when going to the Ozzfest and binge watching the 2005 10th anniversary DVD are influential to me to this day. In their talks, as Sharon and Live Nation bring back Ozzfest as soon as 2027. Of course, things will never be exactly the same, but that's life. Things change and evolve, and that's what made Ozzfest so amazing in the first place. Rest in peace to Ozzy Osbourne. Thank you, Sharon and the kids, for making Ozzfest, well, Ozzfest. My name's Jay Sky. I appreciate everyone for tuning into the video. I know lately I've been really in my feels just talking about like the early 2000s, metal, metalcore, all these bands. I'm sure it's not gonna be stopping soon. Follow me on Instagram at JSkyProduction. Subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments your thoughts. Like the video. I appreciate your support. It means so much to me. And until next time, peace.